Hello everybody, welcome back. This is your tropical update for June 19th. We're currently watching Tropical Depression 3 over the Central Atlantic as well as Invest 93L behind it. Tropical Depression 3 likely to impact the Lesser Antilles here later this week or next. As we can see here, I updated a little bit of the graphics here because, I'm having fun. But Tropical Depression 3 is making its way and looking very healthy across the Atlantic. Very warm waters, little shear, little dry air. It really has a great environment ahead of it. And the Hurricane Center calling it to become a hurricane within the next 5 days before impacting the Lesser Antilles. Invest 93L behind it, very healthy as well. And another tropical wave just came off the coast of Africa. We'll see what happens with that one. 93L also now expected to develop according to the Hurricane Center with a medium chance of formation. As we can see here on the impact map, moderate risk of tropical weather conditions in Dominica, as well as the surrounding islands in a slight condition, mainly due to those winds. The Hurricane Center also calling for storm surge and rainfall as major impacts due to the storm. You'll see Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands also now under a low risk of tropical weather. We'll continue to monitor that as the path for this storm gets updated with time. The European ensembles, all of them now showing landfall along the Lesser Antilles at some point due to Tropical Depression 3, and behind that, it has Invest 93L turning to the north, away from the islands. Then behind that, another tropical wave. So, again, 3 appears to be, the models are generally starting to agree that this storm will hit the islands. What its strength will be, we'll talk about more about that here in a second. Tropical Depression 3, like I said, looking very healthy today. A good amount of convection associated with it, good amount of outflow, and really starting to look like a tropical storm if it's not already one. So likely Tropical Storm Bret is on its way here soon, and we also have records being set by this storm as well. Again, flooding, storm surge, and winds will all be a concern for the Lesser Antilles, Leeward, and Windward Islands. Both need to be watching out for the storm, perhaps even the Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, and the Dominican Republic as well. Again, all of those areas need to be monitoring the progress of the system as it is likely to become a hurricane according to the National Hurricane Center. Also, this storm has set a few records or neared a few records. It's, if it becomes a tropical storm later today, it'll be the second earliest tropical storm in the main development region on record behind Bret, and that should say today's date, June 19th, 2017. Although, we'll kind of see after the post-storm analysis, because I would not be surprised if the analysis after the fact has it tie Bret for the earliest formation on record. It's also the second year, if it becomes a hurricane before it hits the Leeward Islands there, it'll be the second year on record with a June hurricane in the main development region. It's also only the 8th year, if it makes it to the Eastern Caribbean as a hurricane, only the 8th year to do that. In 6 out of 7 of those years were hyperactive hurricane seasons. So again, it just could bode rather poorly for the remainder of the season here. As we can see, most of the models calling this storm to reach Category 1 strength here shortly within the next few days as it makes its way towards the islands. There's a few outliers taking the turn up to the north now, but like I said, all the models more or less agreeing upon the solution that this storm will impact the Lesser Antilles. Where it goes from there, it seems like, again, we'll see, even the Hurricane Center calling for a little bit of weakening once it enters the Eastern Caribbean, usually a very hostile environment in that area. So we'll continue to monitor that down the line, but that's over 5 days away from now. So again, in about 4 or 5 days, 3.5 maybe, we need to be watching the Lesser Antilles. After that, maybe within the next 5, Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic need to be watching. And beyond that, it's a little hard to say at the moment. Here's the HAFS model. Again, this is the newer model, which doesn't quite blow the systems up as much as some of the older models do, but also does a really good job with these storms. And we can see Tropical Depression 3 nearing the Lesser Antilles here, as well as Invest 93L behind it, also as a decently strong system. So again, we need to be watching both of these. The biggest and most imminent threat to land, though, is of course Tropical Depression 3. Invest 93L looking fairly ragged, but there is plenty of convection associated with it. At the moment, the Hurricane Center calling for a 40% chance of formation within the next 40 hours, 50% in the next 5 days. And a few of the models bringing the storm to tropical storm strength, but it just got identified as an invest. So it's way too early to say where exactly this will go or what exact strength it'll be. You can see all the models it's showing right now are related to one another. So again, we have a little bit of time until we know what happens with 93L. Again, continue to monitor Tropical Depression 3, future Tropical Storm Bret, if you're located in the Lesser Antilles and maybe even Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands as well. That's all for now. Chris Dixon, Info Weather Media.